At the time of recording, Squadrons has roughly been out for about half a week. The reception has been huge, at least for our channel, as almost 1,500 of you tune in every night to watch full Squadron team battles in ranked mode, and almost 4,000 of you tuning in on release day, so a massive thank you to that. But today I'm going to be talking a bit more specific. Whilst many playing Squadrons right now are enjoying the X-Wing, TIE Interceptor, Y-Wing and TIE Bomber for example, there are two ships that often get overlooked, the U-Wing and the TIE Reaper. Support ships are indeed very slow, easy to kill, struggle in dogfights and are lacking in securing damage on flagship objectives. But in my opinion, at the very least, they have the biggest impact on the team and the game as a whole. But before we get into the why, I want to quickly shoot you my question of the day, which is, what is your favourite ship to play in Star Wars Squadrons? For me, my first pick at the moment is support ships. When playing in a full in-comms team with my friends, you really feel the impact in the game. You're able to help your teammates greatly and frequently, as well as secure some objectives along the way. As for my second class, it's definitely the fighter class ships. I enjoy the high damage, decent hull, and overall ability to do more objectives and dogfights. But what about yours? Give me your ship and reasons why in the comments down below. Also, I'm going to be posting my next secret video on EcksToo this week. It will never be shown on YouTube publicly either, so if you want to grab that video and last month's video immediately, click that join button and sign up to the Commander tier in YouTube memberships. Afterwards, check out the community tab for all your rewards. Patreon users, don't worry, you get this content also. Now, let's talk about support ships. Now, I've played roughly 7 to 8 hours of support. Whilst it's not exactly super high, I would definitely say it's very above average, since I see almost no support on the enemy team. But before I give you my opinions, let's go over the stats. The U-Wing and TIE Reaper's base stats come in at 1000 hull, 1000 shields, 130 max speed, 144 acceleration, and 70 maneuverability. So it's not super tanky, coming in at 3rd place for defense against the fighter and bomber classes in the Rebel faction, and its damage is not a focal point due to it having worse maneuverability and acceleration too. But all these lower than usual stats make up the ability to heal and shield your allies, even if you're playing as the Empire. With that said, rather than a breakdown on the optimal way of play, I'm going to give you my first impressions. These opinions are likely to change the more I play, but for someone starting out with support, this can be useful. So after a fair few hours of play, I've made changes to my components for both ships that I feel make the gameplay a little bit better for myself. For my primary weapon, I've changed it to the guided laser cannon. Now, whilst this cannon is used for players who are not as good at securing unguided shots at players, I actually really like this cannon, as it can wipe out AI ships very fast whilst you're moving at high speeds to avoid being attacked. AI at this time of recording offers the team insane amounts of morale, so much so that the enemy team might not even get the chance to be on the offensive once their 2 frigates are destroyed and they have to remain closer to their capital ship. Unfortunately, this does mean your objective control on destroying ships such as the radar or the CR-90 becomes far less effective, but you can trade out focus on that with focus on your teammates' health and shields. Next up, my right auxiliary has changed to the tactical shield. Honestly, I feel like this is insanely powerful. If you're wanting to play more of a utility-based support, this is an absolute must. You're able to fire this utility at players well over the 1000 meter limit that the supply droid needs to be within to launch. So helping players in a pinch at a very far distance makes all the difference, and keeps you safely nearer your side of the map too. I bolster that utility with the supply droid on the left auxiliary too. Whilst it's stock for both support ships, it's stupidly effective. Whilst it does require you to be under 900 meters to fire at your player, double tapping allows you to place it in front of you to heal yourself or leave it for players coming back to safety. It has absurd levels of effectiveness in both your survivability and your allies. And when you're on the defensive, this component becomes even more effective as you're unable to heal under your frigates whilst defending. So this is definitely a safe component to use if you're unsure on what type of support you want to be. Countermeasures had a bit of a journey for me. I started with Seeker warheads as it's reliable, allows free charges, and doesn't require you to be flying in a straight line or have guided missiles be closer to you to have them be effective. However, the more I played, the more I noticed other users running multi-lock missiles, which Seeker warheads are not effective against. So I've been trying to use shaft particles, as the only negative to that is your ability to play and maneuver. So I recommend picking that up and just training yourself to straighten up against missiles when they get pretty close. Hull and shields I haven't changed. My survivability is the most important aspect when being a support. Being utility support means that when I die, my entire team will statistically perform worse and have a higher chance of death. So I haven't made any changes there yet, as it's a bit more risky, but I am tempted to look at a more reinforced hull component and fortified deflectors for generally higher health. Engines had a bit of a change from time to time. I swapped to the twin propulsion engines that gave higher acceleration, which allows me to recover speed faster when slowing down to make sharper turns to avoid fire. However, I've been testing out the twin slam engine recently. Whilst you have a lower max speed, you gain boost passively, no matter what. As long as there's some power in engines, you're gaining boost charge. This is great to immediately close in on allies who need my help immediately. There is never a situation now where I have no boost to escape or run to allies. So whilst max speed is down, I feel more nimble with it, as you can store up to 5 boosts, and I can choose to just use 1 if I need that extra bit of speed anyway. So now you know all my changes I've made to the U-Wing and TIE Reaper. But what are my impressions? So do I think support is ultimately not needed? Is it my favourite type of gameplay? Well, let me lay it out to you. Support is my main class, as Interceptor and Fighter are most commonly picked. So for the sake of team composition, I main support to increase my win rate. I play with others that are reliable damage dealers and dogfighters, so I'm happy to put my trust in them to secure kills and objectives. I couldn't really see myself playing support much if I was playing on my own, or with just one other person. Comms are insanely effective when playing support. Just a call out on Discord is enough for me to hone my friends down and heal them. It's stupidly powerful against teams with no comms at all. But there's also another aspect to this. The more damage you add to a team's composition, the less effective it is. I've seen my teammates run more bombing runs and objective control per minute when I'm playing support, as they have to travel less to recover and go back in for another run. And when our frigates are down and we're on the attack, that effectiveness on me is doubled, as without support, allies need to travel all the way back to the flagship for resupplies and health. And with my focus on AI takedowns when I'm not needed, it means my team can be on the offensive for much longer. I think the U-Wing and the TIE Reaper are in powerful spots right now. In a time where players are likely to focus on enemies closest to them rather than the class they are, it means support players can play a bit more risky. Eventually, players are going to notice the benefits of focusing down enemy supports before the more offensive classes, and then the effectiveness of supports will level out a bit. But that doesn't mean support isn't vital to any team composition. It absolutely is, and gives validity to the concept that more power does not mean more powerful. Most players will not play support because they'll likely consider the gameplay boring. It's less exciting not being on the front lines all the time, so many teams will not even run a support. I hardly see them in any of the games that I'm in. So I think the niche players that play support are currently the most effective they'll ever be right now. So if you're looking for a secondary class to master to be more useful in team compositions, support is definitely the way to go in my first few hours of play. But that does lead me to the end of the video. What are your thoughts on the support class? Fun or boring to play? Do you see them often? And when you do you find them annoying or an easy kill? Let me know that and our question of the day, which is, what is your favourite ship to play in Star Wars Squadrons? Throw all those thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. And if you want that extra video I mentioned earlier, go ahead and hit that join button and sign up to the Commander tier for all those goodies. Finally, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.